Alright, this morning has been pure chaos already. It's only 8:30, but Mike and Blair have just pulled the 64 Malibu out of the shop and are on their way to Vancouver to go dip one tire in the ocean, and then they're coming back tonight. And then we got the car for like another 3 days before he's on his way across Canada to the Fredericton car show. Yep. But let me show you the mess that they left behind. There's still lots to do on the car, mostly just finishing touches, but after I finish cleaning up, I'm gonna start working on this, but that also means I have to get all the parts away from this. But this is a mess. I'm gonna start off cleaning and putting away tools and getting it ready for the car to come back here tonight. So I guess I'll just set you guys on a time lapse so you can watch me clean up this mess. Well, I've cleaned up most of the shop. It's still pretty messy. I just have all the 64 Malibu stuff still stacked here because the car's coming back tonight and we still got a bunch of reassembly left to do. But I rolled the 70 Chevelle forward because I'm going to start bondoing that quarter. And then I just swept up and put away all the tools and just picked up all the nuts and bolts that were left laying on the ground. So it's all semi-clean for when they get back tonight. Yeah, now it's time to get started on this other neglected project. Alright, so we're back to working on the 70 Chevelle. This project has sat a while. If you guys have been watching the Rust Bros YouTube channel, you know that this car got taken away by ICBC, and you can follow the whole story on that on the Rust Bros channel. But it's back in our shop, and today is the first day that the 64 Malibu is out of Rust Bros, so I'm going to start getting on the rest of this bodywork. I'm going to start on the quarter here. First off, I'm going to wipe it down, and then after I wipe it down, I'm going to hit it with some 46 grit or 40 grit and make sure I get all of this old black epoxy off and make sure that I really give that metal a good bite. So I'm just going to wipe it off and I'll show you guys what you're looking for at the finished product. Alright, I'm just going to This is just some wax and grease, final wash solvent. When you guys are spraying down your panels, you want to make sure that you get like a fluid layer of this stuff, because then all the dirt, grease, and grime will float to the surface of that and it's easier to wipe off. So I like to work in a couple foot sections. Just spray it down. Paper towel. Wipe in one direction. I like to flip it. Just wipe it till it's dry. I'm only doing this bottom half, so it's bottom part. Nice thick fluid layer, again, one direction. Flip to the dry side, then flip to the dry. Beauty. It's only a little dirty. Alright, so I got my 40 grit paper on this 8-inch disc. I am using a Milwaukee polisher, so it's got adjustable speed here, or adjustable RPM. When you're doing this, you want to have it set to your lowest speed setting. That just makes it so it really digs into the metal. You want it to spin slower. This is a single action, not a dual action, so I'm just going to show you on a little test spot here, then I'll put you guys on time lapse. I'm going to try to get all that black off, but you can see that this metal isn't shiny, it's very dull, which means it's got lots of tooth on it. If you're sanding it and your metal looks shiny, when you slide your hand over it, it feels smooth, there's not enough bite there. You really got to make sure that there's a lot of tooth there for the Bondo to grab, so when I touch this, I can almost feel like tiny little metal burrs, and that's how you want it to be. So I'm going to put you guys on time lapse while I finish the rest of this. Alright, so I'm just going to show you what kind of products I'm going to be starting with. So this is a Evercoat short strand filler. So it's a reinforced fiberglass filler, so it's got fiberglass and Kevlar in it. This stuff is waterproof, so this is what I spread over top of all of our welds and anything that is lower than just a skiff of Bondo, like if there's like a smaller dent or warpage from a weld or something like that. This is what I would use. This stuff is still quite flexible, but anyways, because this is waterproof, that's why I use it over top of all my welds, just in case any of the welds have any pinholes or anything. We make sure that we try to weld up and make sure that there is no pinholes, but you never guarantee, so this is kind of just an extra layer of protection that I'm going to put over top of the welds and then sand off. This stuff is really strong, it's really great. I know that some people like to use this stuff called all metal. I'm not a fan of all metal personally. Doesn't mean it's a bad product, but that stuff is made out of aluminum dust basically, and aluminum and steel don't get along. It is encased in resin, so that they say that there isn't supposed to be a reaction between the aluminum and steel. However, I just don't trust it, and it's a lot more brittle than this stuff is, and this stuff still has quite a bit of flex. And then if anybody has ever used this kind of short strand fiberglass filler, when you get to the bottom of the bucket, it starts to get thicker. You know, you don't put the lid on tight enough or whatever, it starts to dry out, which seems to be an issue in quite a few shops. So they make this other stuff, and you can actually just use straight up fiberglass resin. This is basically what it is. It's just a little bit of extra resin. They sell actual short strand fiberglass resin for reducing your fiberglass. You can buy it in the store. That's more expensive. You can just use regular fiberglass resin. It's all the same. They've just labeled it and marketed it differently. So you can reduce this stuff with resin. And then over top of this, after I spread this on and let it dry and sand it off, I'll go in with my 3M Bondo, my 3M Gold, which is my favorite Bondo to use. But I'll talk a little bit about more, or why I like the 3M Bondo more than other Bondos. But I just thought I'd show you this Marglass. I opened a new can, so it's nice and runny. I was just mixing it up here. Make sure that all the resin that's separated is all the way down to the bottom, to try to negate the need to add extra resin into it at the end of the can. And all these products are going to be linked in my Amazon storefront, so if you guys want to use the same products that we're using here at Rust Bros, you guys can find that link in my Amazon. Alright, so while I'm waiting for my short strand fiberglass filler to dry, I'm going to also make sure that I'm watching that, so I hit it green. Actually, before I even do that, I just put a thin skip on there, so I'm not going to need this, but I'm going to, once it's just starting to harden and it's still a little tacky on top, that's when I like to hit my Marglass and my Bondo as well. It sands way faster. You do go through more sandpaper, but you save a lot of time. And another thing that you can use, this is a cheese grater. Like in newer shops, you probably wouldn't be using this stuff, but doing restoration, spreading lots of Bondo, these cheese graters are great. If you're somebody who's worried about using up too much sandpaper while hitting stuff wet, you can use a cheese grater instead. These are reusable. However, they do leave a lot bigger of grooves, so I would start with this, knock off all your ridges, or get the rough shape, but make sure you stop and still leave a lot of material on, and then I would hit that with like 80 grit or 40 grit sandpaper, 40-80, and then finish off in 120 or 180. So these are a great tool if you're trying to take off lots of material, and they are really usable. If they get clogged, you just sit them in a cup full of gun wash, and the gun wash will eat the Bondo off of it. So these are reusable and they're super nice. You do have to be careful not to take too much product off or push too hard when you use these. Otherwise, you're just gonna end up leaving big grooves in your Bondo. So there's that. And then while we're on the subject of Bondo, when I go to skim this, I'm gonna be using this, I was wrong the first time, it's not 3M Gold, it's 3M Platinum Plus. I don't know if this is different from the gold or if this is, Premium Gold formula. Okay, so they've just changed the cans on me. So yeah, this stuff is awesome. It is thinner than other Bondos, so if you're somebody who is spreading techniques aren't as strong, this can be a challenge, spreading on a panel that's vertical like this and not laying down flat. So this is my preferred. Sounds nice, easy to use, doesn't get pinholes. I really like this stuff, so this is what I'm going to be using to Bondo the rest of this. And same thing, you can find this in my Amazon storefront. I have to buy a new box of spreaders because these ones are pretty much done for. Normally the Bondo just kind of pops right off of these, but after you use them a few times, after the Bondo dries, it starts getting more and more stuck to this. A way that you can avoid that, and I'll probably do it with some of my spreaders later, is, and you can wash your spreaders with gun wash after you're done spreading, which is what a lot of people do. I find that the gun wash just degrades them, and I get more use out of cleaning them this way, although this one is old and porous, so Bondo's actually getting stuck to this one. But generally I just pop the Bondo off after it's dry. If it starts getting stuck like this one does, you can just take a heat gun and lay these on a flat surface and just heat them up on the front side, let them cool, and then do the same to the back side, and that'll make some of the mold release agent come out of the plastic again and make them non-stick, well, back to being more non-stick. So you can reuse them like that. Lots of people like to use metal putty spreaders. I like to use a mix of both depending on what I'm doing. These plastic ones are great, especially when you're dealing with like different kinds of contours. You can really put a bend on these ones with your hand to get more into like the crevices, so that's why I prefer the plastic ones. But you don't get as straight as a spread with these plastic ones. And so I also have this, which is, I generally spread everything on messy with this, and then I go back over it with this long metal putty. And this one's actually for drywall, and lots of people laughed at me for using the drywall spreaders to finish my Bondo, but I'll tell you, it's a game changer, and it makes the Bondo like super flat, which is nice, so less sanding involved. Alright, let's get this next. Alright, so the quarter is basically all bonded. All this looks really good. I got one little funny spot right here. And then a couple, just a high spot right here at the end that I'm gonna have to tap down. And then got the inevitable low right here behind the door, which is kind of how they always are, but this one just needs a little bit more fill. Bottom here looks good though. I'm probably gonna fill this whole bottom piece under this body line, and then I'm just gonna put a really light skim from here to here. This all looks really good except for this one low, but it's really hard to just fill the low and feather it out, especially on stuff that's this big. So I'm just gonna do the kind of same thing where the seam is. I'm just gonna really lightly skim this. When I'm doing like filling these lows, what I like to do is like go in with my Bondo just straight on the lows first and make sure those are filled, and then I go back and I spread the whole panel, or like as much of the panel as I need to. But I like to hit the lows first so I know that they're filled. But other than that, this quarter is phenomenal. It's beautiful. Blair did a really, really good job of welding it on. Just this one high spot. Oh, and where it's welded right here, I haven't decided. I might have to take a grinder to that actually. I tapped down this high already, but it's really hard to tap down a weld, so I might just have to hit that with the grinder a bit. We're gonna see if I can hammer it out first. Alright, so this quarter is done. Lots of bare metal showing through. I know it looks like a lot of Bondo, but still sounds like metal. It's really just a tiny skiff. It's looking pretty straight now. These quarters are immaculate. Blair did a really good job welding these on. There was a couple tiny little high spots. Nothing major. Anyways, it took me like a couple hours to do that side, and now it's time to do this side. Rinse and repeat. Tell you right now though, it's so hot in this shop, and it sucks doing body work when it's like 30 degrees out because you're sweaty and the dust just like sticks to you, and it makes it so much worse. So I'm not really enjoying myself, and I really don't want to do the second side, but 'tis life, so somebody's got to build these cars. Lots of Bondo left. Alright, I've got the second side all ground out. I can feel that it's got lots of tooth. I can feel a little tiny little metal burrs, so I know it's good. Just about to mix up some putty. I like to work in sections. Some people like to Bondo the whole panel, but it's really hot outside and the Bondo dries extremely quickly in this heat, and I don't want to stand that hard. So I'm going to do it in sections. I'm going to do these bottom two pieces on the quarter to start, and then afterwards I'm going to do the center section of the quarter. But I got my Bondo here and my hardener. So for you guys who haven't mixed Bondo yet, the mixing ratio for this is like 2%. You want 2% hardener. But that kind of varies depending on how hot it is. If it's super cold, you might need a little bit more. If it's super hot, you're gonna need less. So general rule of thumb, because nobody is weighing this stuff out, because it's 2%, I think by weight, not volume. Anyways, so I got my circle puddle here going. So normally, you would go 1.5 of this hardener. It comes out in a little, strip. Because it's so hot out, I'm only going to do one line. If it's really cold out, you can do a line back and then forth. So you can play with it that way. And also, if you're starting out, it's better to give yourself more time to work with the Bondo than less time. And just like anything, any new skill that you're learning, it's best to learn how to do it the right way and know how to do it, and then work on doing it fast. So don't worry about, you know, going super fast on this kind of stuff, especially if you're starting out. You know, if you want to work in smaller sections on your panel, that's okay. Start off slow, and then when you get the hang of it, then work on your speed. But that's, you want to work on making it good before you make it fast. And then again, when we're mixing this stuff in, you don't use a corner and mix it like this, because that creates air bubbles. So you're just going to fold it into itself and just keep working out the air bubbles, and then scooping it back up into a puddle in the center. Make sure you're scraping the bottom of your board so you're getting all of that unmixed filler, and then scrape your putty spatula off to make sure that there's not any unmixed filler still stuck to your spatula. Make sure I'm getting under that Bondo pile. Just kind of working it in just like you would mix like egg whites into something. You just kind of fold, squish out the air bubbles like this. And that's basically it. Make sure that you got an even color, that there is no blue streaks or yellow streaks. It's all even color. That's how you know it's mixed. And again, I like to start off pretty messy when I do this. I just like to get it on there with as little pinholes. I'm not really worried about making it perfect at first. Just trying to make sure that you apply even pressure with your 4 fingers on the back of your spreader and your thumb at the front. Make sure that you got even pressure side to side, because you don't want to put extra pressure in the middle, because then you're going to have little ripples all through your panel. So you don't have to push super hard or nothing like that. But I kind of get it on there, something like that. And then I'll go over it with this. I'm just going to do the other side before I do that. And even with like less hardener than they recommend, my Bondo is already starting to kick because it's so hot out. It's like 30 degrees inside the shop right now. So kind of got to work fast. Could have put less hardener in it and gave myself more time, but it's really hard to gauge too. So yeah, get it on there kind of messy. And then I go in with this guy and take off all the excess and make it nice and smooth. I like to just go down and scrape my edges so I don't have so much of the sand down there. Alright, and that's basically it. Now I just gotta wait till it kicks. Alright, my Bondo is still a little tacky and fresh and easy to sand, but it's not smearing or pilling on me, so that's how I know it's ready. I've got some 40 grit on this block. I'm going to take it down until I start to see some bare metal spots poking through, and then I'll stop and switch to 80. Actually, could have probably sanded this a minute before. That's alright. Still not done. some bare metal spots showing through. I'm gonna stop and switch over to 80 grit. So another thing is you don't have to be pressing super hard when you're sanding. You want the sandpaper to do all the work. If you push too hard, one, if your panel does have any variance in it or waves, if you're pushing too hard, you're going to bend your block, and you're just going to push your block right into those grooves. That's not what you want. You want to keep nice light pressure so your block doesn't have a bow in it. And you can test that too, and every block is different, but if you set it on something here and here, you can kind of push on it. When it starts to bow, you know that's max pressure that you want to be putting on it. And also, you're just going to end up burning out your arms if you push too hard. So just nice light pressure, flat across panel. We like to do this thing when we sand. It's called cross hatching. So you're basically sanding in an X. So you'll sand this way first, and then you'll sand the opposite way, making a cross hatch pattern as you go. Just work your way back and forth of it. Stop. Make sure you feel it. I can still feel that I got too much material here, so I'm going to focus. Actually, I'm going to switch up my block to the curved round one. Just make sure I get in that groove. Make sure you're using the right block for the job. And the longer, so if you have an X that's like this versus an X like this, when you're, I don't know what you call that, when your X pattern is a lot longer, that's what you want to kind of do when you're working on big flat panels, because the longer that stroke is, the more flat you're going to make it. The shorter your X is better for round panels. So keep that in mind too. See, now I can see that I got bare metal showing up here and a little bit bare metal showing up here, so that's exactly what I want. I'm going to go in and sand this top edge, and then I'll go and refine this one a little bit more and sand with the back, but that's kind of what we're looking for. Well, that's the end of my day. I finished the 1/4. I got the bottom of this quarter done. I just got to spread the center. I just lured Mr. Lincoln back into the shop, wherever he was taking an adventure. So I'm just about to lock up, and Mike and Blair should be back in the morning. It's a good day, got lots done, cleaned up some of the shop as well, but I'm so ready to go home. It's been so hot, I'm so sweaty, and I got so much dust stuck in all my crevices, so I'm excited to go home and shower. But anyways, it was a good day. I'm starting to really love this 70 Chevelle. Mine is this car straight, and I really like it too because the quarters are small and they're round, and the body lines aren't super sharp. They're very rounded on this car, which makes my life a whole lot easier as a body man. There's going to be some dent repair on the doors and stuff like that, but this car is in really good shape. Thank goodness, because that Malibu was a lot of work, and so I'm hoping that this one's going to be a lot less. But so far so good and going really fast, so stay tuned and have a great day.